Yes, Mama Stan. Hey guys, welcome to Movie Club Strikes Back. Wow, I just had a brain fart there for a minute, and I was like, "This is like my club, and I can't even remember the name of it." How bad is that? Welcome everyone. So today there's just a small group of us today, and we're just going to be having a bit of a discussion and a chat about high school movies. We're calling today's Hangout High School Reunion because we've all just watched the movie The New Guy for our movie club pick. It is picked by the movie star G.J. Qualls, and so we kind of thought, you know what, let's talk about high school movies this week. But before we get started, let's see who we've got.
And I'll start it off. My name is Meta, aka Meta Medicine. Anywhere you want to maybe stalk me. I am Movie Club's only Danish person, which means that I am obviously very special, which is important in Movie Club. I am also the most notorious lover of 50 Shades of Grey in this wee hangout. So I will probably be discussing that at some point, although I don't know how I'm going to weave that in with High School Reunion, but I'll think about it and I'll get back to you.
Hi guys, I'm Nina. I go by Vlog Life Nina on YouTube, and you can find all of my links in all of my videos. Go check stuff out.
I'm Ray. I have no idea what I'm ever going to watch. I watch random movies that none of you people have heard of and no one wants to watch. But I review them anyways because I don't like having YouTube subscribers. I'm down to 45 subscribers and dropping every day.
Oh.
I've lost like 3 YouTube subscribers since I joined this group. It's getting sad.
Oh no! Everyone go give Ray some love.
Next.
My name is Liam on these wee hangouts here, but everywhere else on the internet, I'm called Servitorix. I am Movie Club's only Scotsman, as it turns out just now, which makes me special in a different way. The fact that I'm Scottish, not Danish. That's the difference. That's it. I've actually put up a review this week, funnily enough. About time, so there's that. And yeah, I'll be misrepresenting Scotland on here. Oh, so badly. So, there we go. Have fun.
Yeah. And I am Kiwi. I am the host of today's show. Wow, we've got a lot of people who are like, I'm Movie Club's only this, and I'm only Movie Club's only that. Well, I'm Movie Club's only Kiwi. I killed the last one that tried to come in and take my place, because that just doesn't work. Even though there's only like 5 of us in our whole entire country, and the other 3 are hobbits. So, yeah, what can you do? So,
I'd rather have the hobbits.
What? Oh, well, I'm short, so, and, you know, I suppose I could say that my feet are hairy. They're not, but I could, if that's what it took to win your love, I would turn around and have hairy feet. So.
Oh, well, you know what I love.
There were more Kiwis, but they were all killed when the tribe was canceled.
Yeah.
Tribe
that
is
show.
good. So good.
It is such an awesome show. So this week we are going on a bit of a high school movies discussion path today. Like I said, we've just had The New Guy as this week's movie club pick. So I thought we'll kick it off with something easy. And what are everyone's favorite like high school movies? Like movies that are either centered directly around a high school or based in a high school, or the main characters are sort of high school aged and dealing with high school angst type issues.
Well, you know, the classic would be Mean Girls. I mean, it is like the classic high school movie, especially for girls. I don't think I know any girl that hasn't heard of it. Like, not necessarily like everybody has seen it, but everybody has heard of it in some way. If they can,
you go, Glen Coco.
Oh, you
Yes.
go. It's so good, so good. But I don't know if it's my favorite. But for me, it's like the typical high school movie because it shows all the cliches, all the cliques in high school, all that type of jazz. I actually really liked ECA.
I really liked EZA too.
Yeah,
me
because
too.
I thought that it was an
Yeah.
interesting spin on the whole high school experience, the whole about how a rumor starts and how everything continues on. It's not my favorite, but it's one of the newer sort of high school-ish movies that I really liked.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's definitely right up there.
Yeah.
High School Musical by far.
You know, I think
Liam, I just want to stab you just for even mentioning that.
Well, it's actually I have to sort of agree because I did rewatch it one time, and it's
the
not
first one's
all
not
bad.
bad.
It's
The
not
first
all
one's
bad.
not bad.
No.
The first one's not bad. The second and third one, you're just like, oh, okay, this is just rehashing a bunch of stuff.
It didn't need a second or third one.
I was
Okay, the only thing I can take away from that movie is that it brought us Zac Efron, and
not a good
Zac
thing.
Efron grew up to be hot.
Oh, he
So-
grew up to be a hottie.
My favorite high school movie by far is Bring It On.
Oh yes.
Yes. Well, we all know why you're going to say that one. Eliza Dushku and a cheerleading out.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
really?
I'm totally not denying that. Eliza Dushku's cheerleading uniform is one of my favorite things.
I don't agree with you on that. I have this weird. Maybe it's because cheerleading isn't as big of a thing here in New Zealand. Like we do have people that do like the whole competitive-y cheerleading and stuff, but it's not a big thing that you have at each school representing your school and your team. And I was fascinated by like Bring It On and all that stuff. And so I've watched every single one of them, like all of the sequels and all the random ones. And I just, oh my God, I love them so much.
So, Bring It On actually inspired me to become a pep squad person for 1 year, which is basically like the year before cheerleading.
Oh my God. That is okay. So what's the difference between a pep squad and a cheerleader? Because this now I know it may seem like a really random question, but it is going to lead into some additional questions that we've got a little bit later on because we've got an international audience, and you'll see why.
Cheerleading basically has more gymnastics than pep squad does. Pep squad does like a bunch of the like go team go moves like this.
Give me a G. Give me an A. Yeah. Give me a I don't know what I'm spelling because I failed English.
But you had more of the gymnastics because once you did pep squad, you could either do dance squad or cheerleading. And dance squad was more of the dance kind, choreographed and dance. And the cheerleaders were much more of the gymnastics.
Wow.
But
my school was.
This is a last resort.
My school was tiny, so we didn't really have gymnastics in our cheerleading.
Yeah, I
They
live
mostly just danced and a lot.
I live in a large Texas city, and so literally every time you go to any football game, there's like the whole band and the cheerleaders and the dance squad and then the pep squad people. Like, there's more of those people than the freaking football players.
Yeah, see, that's definitely going to lead on to one of the questions that I've got coming up, especially coming as a foreigner. Ray, what about you? Sort of like any favorite movies that you've got that are like high school related movies? And stuff?
I said before we started that I really liked Heathers. That movie was so funny. Heathers
oh my God.
Really good.
I quote that movie constantly. Well, fuck me gently with a chainsaw. Favorite thing to say. All the time, and that movie to me is like kind of like right at the upper echelon of badass high school movies. I definitely put it up there with things like The Breakfast Club.
God,
and
The Breakfast Club.
That movie is so good. It's a classic for a reason. And I also really, really love Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion. That movie just made me laugh so much. Like the way they're sitting there and the way they take the piss out of like, you know, Pretty Woman, and that scene in Pretty Woman where she's like shopping, she's like, big mistake, big, huge, okay, I have to go shopping now. And it's just like, oh my God, I relate to these characters so much. It's terrible. It's just like, oh.
Romy and Michelle is definitely a great one.
Have we gone through my irrational hatred for Pretty Woman yet? Because I do not like that movie at all.
No,
It's one
oh
of
my
my
god.
least favorite movies.
Oh,
talk
well,
about
it's
that
possible
another
that you're not the
night.
target demographic for Pretty Woman, so there's a potential reason there of why you may not
Slight
like
chance.
it. Yeah, slight chance of the reason why.
I just can't wrap my head around that movie. It makes no sense about why anyone should like it. It just
She's a hooker with a
uses
heart of gold.
It's
You know,
supposed to
she
be
may sell
fairy
herself, but she
tale.
still has standards.
You said that Trading Places is your favorite film. That's the same with Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
yep.
She's
So-
a hooker with a heart of gold.
Yeah, she's a hooker with a heart of gold in that too.
Princess
Like,
Diaries.
she plans on working to get her money, not like Julia Roberts, who just is lucky and picks up the right dude. And boom, she's a princess now.
Yes,
Princess
so
Diaries.
Nina just brought up a great point. The Princess Diaries. I love this movie, and
I love it.
because who was the
Anne
main,
Hathaway.
like, yeah, Anne Hathaway was in it, but her main rival in the movie was
I never saw that
Mandy
she
one.
was a singer. Mandy Moore. Hasn't Mandy Moore been like sort of like the bitch character in another high school movie?
Saved.
We watched it for Movie Club.
Yes,
She was,
Saved.
Yeah.
Saved.
She plays that character really well, but apparently she's the nicest person in real life, but she plays like bitchy teen characters so well that it almost makes you wonder, were you potentially that person at school, or was it just that you were like hounded by that person so much at school and now you're using that as like, you know,
Yeah.
She's
She
been
plays a lot of nice
a
characters
teenager
as well.
15 years.
Well,
She's
I
been
bring
playing
it.
a teenager for 15 years. She has experience.
yeah, true.
I bring up Princess Diaries because it has one of the greatest tropes in it that high school movies have, which is the makeover scene.
Oh, yes. It
Yeah.
has the most perfect makeover scene.
Yeah, I do love a good makeover scene, which you get a lot in high school movies. Another one of my favorite high school movies is Clueless.
Yeah.
Again,
Oh.
has a
Yeah, I
really
do
awesome
like that
makeover
movie.
scene. I'm gonna be a
do like-
supermodel. And really great 90s. To me, I kind of feel like some of the best high school movies kind of came out of that sort of mid to late 90s era. And there were a lot of them. You've got your She's All That, 10 Things I Hate About You. When
10
you
Things.
actually start and think about it, there's actually a lot of movies that were kind of identical, but you just set them in a different high school in a different state, and away you go.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I think the thing that I've
She's like
noticed, sorry,
Go
the
ahead.
thing that I've
Sorry.
noticed the most, being a foreigner watching these, is that there's very few movies from other countries that are set in high schools. It's very much an American thing to have all these high school related movies. So the only ones that I can really think of off the top of my head are usually British ones where it's a boarding school,
Yeah.
like something
Yeah.
like St. Trinian's. But we see very few like foreign movies that kind of sell the same genre.
Yeah.
Just one of the high school movies that I wanted to mention that I can't remember the name of, it's gone straight out of my head, is what was the one with like the superhero kids that they all go to
Sky
high
High.
school?
Sky High. I love that one.
Sky High. Because
Well, there's
wow,
also
okay, I
Stu
didn't realize I picked
McCann.
most of my movies are being awesome because the main characters are hot, but Stephen Strait, whew,
He was not
fine in
technically
that
the
movie.
main character in that, but he should have been.
He should have been, because the
Which
movie
one was
should
that?
have been. He was the fire guy.
Yeah.
The really hot one, Liam.
The one
Yeah.
with long
Oh,
hair.
that one.
Yes,
Okay.
that one.
The
Yeah.
guy with long hair. I can-
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
The Covenant. I
Shake
don't
that.
know.
Oh, yeah, The Coven. That's another really good one that's kind of like
the
high
Covenant
school.
and Covenant.
Mm,
Which are two
mm.
Because I have to mention horror movies, Ginger Snaps was really good.
I've
Ooh,
never
yeah,
seen
it
it.
was. Actually, a lot of horror movies are kind of based in that high school genre realm. You know, you've got things like Carrie,
Yeah.
The Faculty.
The Faculty. That was a good one as well.
Yeah.
See, again, high school related movies, they cross all sort of different genres. They're not just like your little poppy, cheesy, teen angsty movies. They do go across all different gambits
I
of
watched
genres.
Oh, sorry,
I
Nina,
watched
go ahead.
one like 2 weeks ago called Teen Spirit. It's about a high school prom queen gets struck by electricity, and so she becomes a ghost and has to make the least popular girl in school the prom queen or whatever.
What?
There-
Or she can't get into heaven otherwise?
There's a
she goes to
Meatballs
hell.
movie with that plot too. There's a Meatballs movie, Meatballs 4.
Oh, is that the
porn-
one with the porn star can't get
Yeah,
into heaven
porn
and
star
she
has to
helps
get
get
the loser in high school laid.
who actually
It's
happens to be McDreamy from Grey's Anatomy. I love that movie. That movie, I have no idea why, but it really resonated with me when I was like 15 or 16. Probably shouldn't have
Meatballs
been watching
4 on a
Yeah.
Little Watch Classic.
it. It's a great movie. I was going to pick it as one of my movie club picks. But okay, moving on because we
No,
could
I've
probably
got two
just sit
more.
here.
I've got two
Yeah.
Oh,
more.
you've got two more. Oh, okay.
I totally
off
did
you
not
go.
just type up into Google high school film. And I totally did not come across two films I really love. Easy A,
Yes, we've
Which
talked
Ah.
about
We
it.
mentioned that.
Dead Poet Society.
Yeah, Dead Poet Society is another really good one.
movie I have an irrational hatred for that I
Oh,
didn't
you
bring
have
up in
hatred
the
for
school
everything.
conversation.
I think
Oh,
you brought that
Another
up
movie I
in the
don't
classic.
get. I just had a conversation about that movie with my roommate Thursday, and I just can't get why everyone was so pissed off at him for teaching poetry. And it's not like they're off doing drugs and vandalizing the school. They're sitting in a fucking cave reading poetry. Leave them alone.
Well, that's the whole
But
point.
again,
It's
you
like,
have
why
to
are you
remember
being
it
so
was
angry? You
from
shouldn't
a
say that.
different. It was from a different era. So I mean, it's very similar with Mona Lisa's Smile.
I love
Kind of
Mona
that
Lisa's
same.
Smile.
Yeah, it's that same vein of things. It's the whole. It was back
Then
before you
my
were
roommate
able to sort of
kept
think.
saying that smoking cigarettes was scandalous when that movie takes place, but don't care.
Yeah, it's
They're smoking cigarettes and reading poetry. They're not out mugging people and scraping in the school. Leave them alone.
Okay, you do raise some good points. I do have a bit of an issue with that film, but it's more with like the ending of it. So has everyone here seen Dead Poet
No.
Society? Okay. I'll try not to ruin it for you then, Meta, but it's just more the decision that one of the main characters makes at the end. It's like, fucking hell, dude. You're like a couple of years away from graduating. You can go to college. You can do whatever the fuck you want there. Don't make your stupid, irrational decision because daddy told you off. Another year or two and you'll be out from under his thumb. So suck it up, buttercup, and just get on with it. That's the issue that I have with that movie.
One of the only things I hate about that movie is that everyone quotes that stupid Walt Whitman poem, and I hate it.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Yeah,
I
that's
hate
why I started
that poem.
talking about the movie Thursday. That was a trivia question where I do trivia Thursday. Who wrote that poem?
I hate that poem with a burning passion
Oh, wow. Why?
because I had to study it for academic decathlon in high school, and everyone's favorite thing was to quote that poem, and I got tired of it after a year.
I'm like the same way with the Bourne films. We did media studies in high school, and we just watched the first 3 Bourne films over and over and over again. I get
Yeah.
so sick of seeing Matt Damon. It's unreal.
Yeah,
So what
I
you're saying is you
hate
want me to
Minecraft.
pick one of the Bourne films?
please no.
Now I have 9 films to put in the hat for what to pick for next.
Can I make a suggestion, Raymond?
Yes.
Don't pick Bourne film. That's
Don't
my
pick them.
suggestion.
You won't.
Okay,
You know I
well,
don't
since we...
pick Bourne films.
Right.
Sorry.
What?
Well, since we had just been kind of talking about the fact that everyone quotes the Walt Whitman poem from Dead Poet Society, and we have kind of mentioned it a little bit throughout this, sort of favorite quotes from high school movies, because they do kind of, I feel as if the movies that fit in the high school genre kind of inflict on our vocabulary a little bit more than, say, some other movies do. So has anyone got any favorite quotes from high school movies? Otherwise, I'll just sit here and quote them over and over again.
I'm gonna cheat. It's from a TV show, and it's from
Yep.
everyone's favorite TV show, or it should be everyone's favorite TV show. 5 by 5. It's my favorite.
Buffy.
Oh.
We do. Oh my God, I can't believe we forgot. Well, I guess we are talking movies, not TV shows, but yeah. I find that I steal a lot of my vocab from high school movies. Like, just like Gretchen in Mean Girls, I've constantly been trying to make fetch a thing. And I will stand by the fact that fetch should totally be a thing. Like, oh my God, that is so fetch. And I
Not
will
a
throw it
thing.
in as
Stop
many
trying to
conversations
make
as
it a
I
thing.
can.
I definitely think like Pour for You, Glen Coco, and You Go Get Glen Coco have definitely made it into the social consciousness.
It definitely is. Well, there was an episode of Teens React that they did on Help Me Out, Thingy's channel.
Fine
Fine
Bros.
Bros.
Fine Bros.
Thank you. Having a mental blank there. And so they actually did the trailer again for Mean Girls when it was the 10-year anniversary of the movie. And everybody knows You Go Glen Coco. And it's one of those sort of like phrases that has just sort of like randomly popped up. Again, I mentioned it before, but I always use Well, Fuck Me Gently with a Chainsaw from Heathers because I love that movie and I love that quote and I think it's rather fitting. Yeah. Anyone else? Or is it just me that like steals my whole vocabulary from movies?
We talked about like how it's mostly American high school movies that are out there, and I can't believe I didn't think of this earlier. But then again, I did just search up on Google. Harry Potter,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God,
UK
Harry
high
Potter.
school film. You're a wizard, Harry. That's my favorite quote from that.
You're a wizard, Harry.
High school
Wizard.
though? Is it high school?
It was middle high school.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess that then comes down to sort of like, because I mean for us, and the fact that he was what, like 10 years old when he got his letter from Hogwarts, that for us is like last year of primary school going into intermediate. So it's before he kind of reaches that high school, but we only do like 2 years of intermediate before we then go straight on to high school at like 13. So, but yeah, look, since we're kind of rolling that way anyway, we want to talk about, do the high school movies that we watch, you know, and that we've been watching since like, for God knows how long, you know, back when they first started making them be a focus, do they actually reflect on real life high school situations?
No, at least not my school, because my school was tiny. So if there was a clique as big as they're in these movies, it'd be the entire school.
I went to a tiny school in my town. My tiny school was still like 2,000 people.
Yeah, my graduating class had 84 people.
And so, like, there were a lot of cliques. Like, I was part of the pep squad cheerleader part of the school for a while. But then I was a real nerd and went way on the other side of it and went to academic decathlon, which is essentially just taking tests for fun.
That was not
I mean, like if this was a high school movie though, you know, you would basically be you know, Josie Geller and Never Been Kissed and kind of going from that, you know, one sort of like genre, and then it would be this huge massive deal that you managed to transition into this other high school clique. I mean, while you were at high school, was it like, oh my God, she's transitioning cliques? Or was it just...
Yeah, I mean, it sort of was. I mean, it was a big deal that I was like leaving this thing and going and doing a way different thing, because like I had already sort of made friends, and then I was like, nah, fuck you guys. I'm gonna go do something else because this requires me to be out in the sun, and I'm not cool with that.
I burn easily. Meta, Liam, what about you guys, our foreigners and stuff? Do you feel that all these American-based high school teen movies, do they really kind of reflect on what we as foreign people go through in our own high school situations?
Not at all. Not even close. I mean, there's no such thing in Denmark. We go to our like our lower school. You have to go to school until you're 15.
Mm-hmm.
So I always see that my high school experience are the 3 years I spent after that doing like a I don't know, like the things that qualify us for college and university. So that's why I think like the years after we finish ninth grade and we spend in gymnasial high school, that's like our high school. There are no sports teams there. There are no like academic groups. There are no anything. The only thing that really is there's like the high school, like the band. That's it. Like I can't see this whole thing about there being like cliques or anything because we're all separated in classes that we spend all day with. So obviously inside those classes we'll be separated into different cliques, but everybody will still talk, and you won't be defined by the fact that you're a jock or you're a cheerleader or anything like that. You'll just be defined as, oh, those are the kids that drink a lot. Those are the kids that are really nerdy. Those are the kids that just like hang out by themselves. That are just like, whatever. So I can't tell anything. Like there's no like you can't equate the two at all.
Well,
So because your guys' schooling system was obviously so different, do you then still find that if you watch all of these high school movies, are you still able to relate to what it is that they're going through when they talk about, you know, wanting to transition from group to group or being separated into these different sort of cliques at high school? Do you find that you can still relate to it when you're watching it?
Yeah.
Well, kind of still, because you'll be like in your group of friends, but there will always be there are some kids that are more popular than others. So you'd want to maybe transition to those types of groups. But I always find that our school system is not, well, I can only say obviously for my school, but it wasn't that bad. Like everybody would talk to everybody, but you might not be included or invited to some parties because you weren't in that group or you weren't all that popular. So obviously you understand the struggles between wanting to be in those kinds of groups where you would be invited to everything, or staying in your own sort of maybe a bit nerdy group. Like I was in the group where you were just normal, basically. You weren't like super nerdy, but you weren't really popular. You're just like in-betweeners, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, I wasn't in
I
any
think
group.
there's a
I
whole-
hung out with like one kid and just hung out with my one or two friends. Oh, by the way, Italy scored in the World Cup. Yay!
well, I
Yeah,
always
for those tuning in, Ray is watching the World Cup whilst also doing the Hangout with us. And if I hear one more thing about World Cup on my Twitter or Facebook feeds, I'm probably going to scream because I'm a rugby girl, not a pansy-ass soccer fan.
unless it's pictures of Cristiano Ronaldo.
Then I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah,
Liam, what about you? As one of our other foreigner guests? Although us foreigners are outnumbering the Americans tonight. So.
Are we not all foreigners to each other?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, there are aspects to it that are relatable. Like, there will always be the more sporty people. Like, maybe not necessarily just jocks, but there are more sporty people. Personally, I'm one of those people that went between groups. If you want an idea of what my high school experience was like, I was in the rugby team, which is basically the football team. I did competition Shakespeare acting, and I did debating and school show.
Nice.
So a mix of
That's
every
all
group.
over it.
Yeah. So I don't know. There were I didn't get the full experience of every single, group, but yeah, there are aspects to movies that are maybe more exaggerated in like the American high school kind of movies. They're more exaggerated in real life, but they are relatable.
Yeah.
I do feel like a lot of the themes that they talk about in the movies, especially the movie that we just watched this week for Movie Club, The New Guy, and the fact of wanting, you kind of get pigeonholed and pegged as one type of person when you're in high school, and sometimes it takes doing something drastic in a way to kind of reinvent yourself. Like when I was at high school, and our high school was quite different than American high schools as well. In some aspects, I used to get really angry about the fact that all these American high schools seem to have the bulk of all of their classes in like these one big giant huge buildings where they just go up and down the stairs. So they actually have lockers that they
Yes.
can access. Whereas for us, our school was spread a lot more wide. Like, I think the tallest buildings we had were like a 2-story building. There were only like 2 or 3 blocks like that. So your locker was normally right at the other end of the school. So you'd have to carry all your damn school books around with you in a giant ass bag, and it was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But you know, I feel a lot like a lot of the aspects of high school, just like what they said in this movie, kind of do juxtapose with prison life, and the fact that in a way there is a bit of a hierarchical system. And you know, my first year at high school, I'd literally just gone through puberty and was going through that weird change and stuff. So the big huge school bully, and I went to an all-girls school, and this chick was giant, decided to like pick on me on like I think my first week there, and I turned around and nicked her and put her ass on the ground. And so from that point on, nobody fucked with me at school because I was the one that took out the school bully. And it was very much that, you know, I did that Dizzy Gillespie thing of marked myself right from the get-go, taking on the school bully, prison yard rules, and everything was kind of clean sailing from then. So I could kind of jump between the different groups. But we kind of did have those aspects that you see in the high school movies. You know, you had your people that were all about the sports, the ones that were all about the drama, the ones that were all about the study, and we were kind of segmented throughout the school. But it wasn't the worst thing in the world if you wanted to sort of transition between those groups. It wasn't seen like a, what do you mean you want to think you want to come sit here with us popular people? It was just more like you just get a little bit of a weird look.
Yeah, like I said, my school was so small that most people were members of several groups. Like most of the, I guess what you call nerds, it was just they could do well in school. They weren't movie nerds. They were also most of them also played on the soccer and basketball teams. They just, I mean, we have football, but we had soccer and basketball.
Yeah.
One thing I find about watching
by the way,
American...
England, Florida is tied now.
You don't have to update, Ray. We're not.
Oh, dude, I just totally
Somebody
myself
might care, you don't know.
Some of our fans, because we've got Mad Leafs fan and Sean, I know, are both watching on YouTube at the moment. So, hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
And
Hey,
also,
buddies.
oh, shoot, I didn't
He
see we
has
had a...
Leafs right in the name. He's obviously a sports fan.
Okay, now, sorry, I've just noticed the questions that we've had coming through from Sean and all that, and Sean brought up a point that I was definitely going to make. That there was a TV show back in the 90s that had Claire Danes in it called My So-Called Life, and I honestly feel as if that was the most realistic portrayal of the high school experience, and the fact of so many of the movies, it's all about a huge, big, massive event that happens, or it's kind of taking those high school situations that we find ourselves in, but doing the absolute giant extreme version of it. You know, in the new guy, and the fact of, you know, he has a giant boner and then his dick gets broken by an 80-year-old teacher. Not really something that you would see happening in a normal high school, but there are sort of like dulled down versions of that you do see. And I feel like My So-Called Life actually portrayed a lot of that in throughout the course of the TV show. But you can kind of do that with a TV show more than you can with a movie. If it was a movie that was just sort of showing the general day-to-day life of high school and sort of the more mundane things that were happening, I don't know if people would watch them.
Send them to the office. That's not funny. That's not big enough.
Yeah.
You need events in a movie.
Well, one subgenre that sort of does that is the college girl, the high school girl trying to get into college.
Yeah.
Movie.
They do that
Because
one
it
a
always
lot.
seems to be a girl. I don't know why.
They had what?
There was...
Harvard or whatever that one was.
Oh my god, I've totally forgotten
They had
not only the
Accepted.
name of the
It
movie.
was about a guy.
What?
What was that one? Accepted.
There was one called Accepted, and where they formed their
Yeah.
own college.
Except
Oh yeah, the one where they make up the fake college and stuff. Yeah, that was the one that I was thinking. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. That's not the only one I can think of that has kind of like a guy at the main lead.
There was what, Chasing Harvard or something like freaked out was on Hank, something Harper in it.
Yeah.
But that is definitely one of those subgenres that is like the only subgenre that really does the normal day-to-day sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely something you see a lot more in TV shows than you do in movies. Movies need the big dramatic sort of selling point, and so they definitely take those aspects that we can. I mean, although a lot of what happens in a lot of the movies is really extreme, it's still things that I think a lot of us can relate to from our own high school experiences in some way, shape, or point. And I think maybe that's the reason why they have so many movies based in high schools or around the high school situation, because it's something that most of the world has in common, that they have all been to high school in some way, shape, or form, and have at least experienced that.
Yeah.
I do feel that I quite like the movies, though, that focus on the bullying aspect of high school. And
Because that concept's like relatable internationally. That's not like a regional thing.
Yeah.
It really is. It's something that I think, at some point in time, everyone has gone through a form of bullying in some way, shape, or form. Some degrees are obviously really extreme, some not as much. And it's definitely something that we do all relate to.
Yeah, because it's something that happens across borders everywhere, and it happens in all like walks of life, and not just like in high school, also like in middle school, and also like in preschool. It's just something that is so cemented in the school experience in general. I mean, I haven't experienced it in university or college.
Yeah.
It happens.
I imagine it being there, but high school. In my high school, bullying wasn't really bad. It was more like before high school. That was really bad. But I think that when we went to high school, because it's a choice in Denmark, and because it's for the people that want to go on to study in university, you sort of weed out the people, the bad seeds, the ones that don't really go anywhere in life, that just spend their days just bullying you just because it's the only thing they have. They don't go that far in their life, so there aren't that many people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely find that with the movies that focus around a college life, is that the ones where they still have those characters that go around bullying other people, it's still, they're usually seen as the characters that are still very much living like they're in high school, and they haven't moved on past that. And it's kind of telling about the fact of what high school life is kind of like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's very true for a lot of it.
So one of the other things that we did kind of want to talk about when it comes to high school movies is just all the classic stereotypes that they always put in high school movies, because, I mean, whether or not they all relate to what we saw at our own personal high school situations, it's still very easily identifiable, mostly from the fact that it is always in all of these movies. So I mean, who wants to kick off? I say we just list through and go through as many of the stereotypes as we can come up with.
Cheerleaders, nerds, burnouts, jocks, like the princess types.
Yeah, there's the rich kid, the poor kid, the slut.
The crazies.
I think the thing I love the most about the high school movie stereotypes is especially the movies where it's usually when a new kid comes into school, like in 10 Things I Hate About You, or in Clueless, or when, girl starts at the New Girls, and you actually see them pointing out all the different little sub-cliques in all this in the school, and actually going through and pointing them all out. So, like, when Cher and Dion are walking through the school with, I can't even remember the new girl's name. Oh, I'm having such a bad day with names today. It's more like, and so, Brittany Murphy, rest in peace, love. But she's like, and so over here on the grassy knoll, you have your burnouts, and explaining all of the different subgenres.
Yeah.
It always makes for a great tracking shot. Like in the the Bring It On movie that had Hayden Panettiere in it, and so she was at like the rich Beverly Hills school, and they do that great panning shot of just sort of
I
like
love
going
you, Beth
through.
Cooper.
Like, yes, another good
That's
one.
the one.
Yeah, and they just they
one.
go through, and you can see them. Like you've got like a group of like nerdy hot Asians, or you've got like your coffee people, or the media studies people, or like a group of goths, and they are just fitting every single stereotype that you can find. It's hilarious.
They have that in the opening to the faculty also, including like the jocks bowling and nerd and running them into a flagpole and shit.
My favorite of those kind of scenes is the scene in Mean Girls where they do the voiceover in the cafeteria.
That's so good.
Yes.
You have the friendly black kids and the angry black kids and like whatever they're talking about. It's like, oh, great.
You got your cool Asians, your burnouts.
Yeah.
The greatest people you will ever meet and the worst.
I think a good combination of a high school genre and another genre that does this whole stereotyping thing is Scream.
Yeah.
It does that quite a lot as well. Identifies maybe like it does apply the stereotypes to the genre, the horror genre specifically, but they do point out the the jocks, the slutty people that are gonna die first, and all that kind of thing.
Really they definitely talk about it like in the sequels also, because they talk about like anyone could die, and like you have these people, and I think is it the fourth one, I think, where they talk about like, oh, the hot girl, the slut, and like all those things. So they talk about that as well. It's not like that obvious, like I feel like they don't point out like every single stereotype, but they do like bring up a few, like the most well known.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Yeah, it's kind of like a staple of the high school movie. Like if they don't point out the different groupings of people within a high school, it almost doesn't feel like a high school movie. And then, which is ironic given the fact that so many of us have said that our high school environments weren't really like that. Like, yes, you kind of did have your different groups of people, but it wasn't as massively segmented as the movies make it out to be. But yet when they show high schools where it's, they show high schools where it's not as segmented as sort of the stereotypical norm, we then look at it and go, that movie doesn't actually look and feel right.
The major exception for me is the first Bring It On, which doesn't do anything. Completely bypasses pretty much everybody else in the school for this one cheerleading squad.
But so, I mean, is that because of the fact that because it is only focused on that one sort of like subgroup within a high school, that it doesn't feel the need to sort of show all those other subcultures because we're only focusing on that one subgenre?
I think so.
It's really weird because you have a lot of movies that only focus really on the one subgenre of, this one pack of friends or whatever, who are just trying to like go to college or something. But they will do here's everyone who goes to the school.
But is it because it's an interesting point when you
force them into the movie because we've mentioned them.
Is true. But like, I mean, if you were to say I suppose the Burnouts would maybe be another group that they can exist on their own in their own little subculture, and they don't really need to bounce off other groups to really sort of show who and what they are. But say if you were to take the nerds or the geeks of the school, a lot of what makes them identifiable in like a high school situation is the fact that they are the ones that get bullied and picked on by the popular kids or the jocks and stuff like that. So they need to sort of show those other... Oh, poor Medivere. They're kind of the subgroups that need their interaction with the other groups to show where they stand in like that whole social standing of a high school situation. Whereas as soon as you see a person in a cheerleading uniform, we've been so sort of programmed to understand that cheerleaders are at the top of the social hierarchy of a high school situation that we don't need to see them interacting with other sort of sub-genres in a high school setting, because we've already been preconditioned to believe that they're at the top, they exist in their own little bubble, and they can have their own little movie.
I think one of the interesting things is that there's sort of a sub-hierarchy. Because especially in the first Bring It On, like you have the two really nerdy girls who are obviously sort of on the bottom of the pyramid. And then you have like everybody else who, you know, falls into whatever.
Yeah. But I think
they
that
try to
really
do that
like,
a little bit with the tryout scene. When they have the tryouts, they try to include the other groups for like 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's actually true. They really do.
But I think in every single group there will be a hierarchy no matter what. There will always be like some form of leader. There will always be like different types. Like I know in my little friend group, we had the one girl that never really partied. She never really talked. And then on the other hand, we had like me that was maybe like a bit overriding sometimes, like maybe a bit controlling. You never know.
You controlling
Never
never.
know anything about that.
I say nothing more.
Well, I tell you
But
what,
yeah.
like, American-based high school movies have taught me that when you get the classic grouping of jocks, it basically goes like football is always right at the top, and then underneath that, depending on the region that you're in, is where you then have like your ice hockey team, your lacrosse team,
Basketball.
soccer, maybe basketball. They all, everybody knows that football sits at the top of the social hierarchy.
But one thing I never really actually understood about that is the fact that in some high school movies, like I know that in some shows, they're like, oh, now it's summer, now we play football, now it's winter, now I'm like the star of the basketball team. I'm like, is everyone just good at every single sport out there? I'm like, dang, I can't even do volleyball like plus. I wouldn't actually know what you do in two sports. What the fuck?
We actually had a bunch of the jocks who played like 2 or 3 sports.
That's so insane.
They didn't usually.
But they were like the 10th guy on the basketball team and the star of the soccer team.
Yeah. Just because you're the star of one team doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be the star of another team, unless you're like a main protagonist or antagonist in a high school related movie, and then of course like the best sports player at all sports of all times forever.
But do you also know what high school movies taught me is that you should never ever date a jock, because he will sleep with your mother, your best friend, your sister, your cousin, your dad, your brother, just anyone basically.
I forgot one of my favorite high school movies of all time, John Tucker Must Die.
Yes!
Yes!
That is so good. I forgot about that.
I love that movie.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I forgot a trope, that the first person you meet when you walk into high school, if you're a new kid, that is your best friend. So you better hope they're cool.
Yeah, you're automatically categorized on the first day that you arrive, and if you land in that wrong group, then you're basically stuck for life. And to try and transit, like, I think one of the few movies I've seen where someone lands in one group and transitions out of it was when Josie Geller did it in the movie Never Been Kissed, and that was kind of the whole point of the movie, is of her making that transition.
Unless it's like a major plot point that you're in a group to be seen, the first person you meet is your best friend, and if they're in media studies, you're pretty much screwed.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
If you're a hot person in high school, you're fine. Now, Mad Leaf Span in the YouTube comments just brought up. Yeah, he brought up a movie that I can't believe none of us have mentioned yet, which is Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is a great high school movie, but in my mind is probably one of, if not the most unrealistic high school related movie of all time.
Can
I
I make
am
a confession?
You haven't seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
I haven't seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
What the fuck?
I'm ambivalent
Wow.
about
Either.
Watch it, we'll wait.
High five,
Oh
Liam.
my goodness.
Okay.
Oh my god. That just hurts me. That hurts me so
Knuckles.
much.
Not a lot of it takes place in high school, though.
That's true,
I
but it
kind
is
of
all centered around the
Forget
fact
that
of
it
a
is a high
guy.
school movie.
It's very easy to forget it is, and I think it's because it's so unrealistic. But I reckon it's time we sort of bring up what are some of the most unrealistic high school situations or high school movies that we've kind of seen, because I know that we all have ones that we watch and we think are really funny, but at the same time you're like, dude, that would never fucking happen in high school. I
Sex
mean,
scenes.
ew.
I
don't
find
know.
the
High school people are pretty dodgy and horny.
I find the Rumble sort of scene, like in the new guy, the Rumble scene seems just like a tad unrealistic to me. Like there would have been a teacher around matriculating in the hallway and been like, your ass is going to detention. If not,
I mean, I really loved the new guy. I thought that movie was amazing, but at the same time, I think the fact that one person coming into a high school that has such a clearly defined social hierarchy and like not only breaking it down, but in the space of like a week uniting pretty much a whole entire school and having like jocks that were going around beating up people, then turn around going, we don't appreciate that type of language in the school and we don't go around bullying people. To make that type of change in like a week from one person is pretty unrealistic.
It happens in House Party. He beats up a kid and then he's the hero of the school. Are you saying House Party is unrealistic?
one of the things, because that's taken over like a season of football, because he starts like at the very beginning of the season of football and it ends at the high school championships. So in that regards, I don't think it's that unrealistic, especially since it's Texas and they are very, very, very excited about American football. I was at a school with a really, really crappy American football team, and if there had been a kid who was just like, y'all need to get in shape, and it worked, that kid would have been the toast of the school, and everyone would have listened to him.
See,
so
again,
in that
I
way,
think because like I mean, I feel like American schools show a lot more school in town spirit than maybe New Zealand schools do. Because I mean, although yep, some of us would go along and support, you know, the school's rugby team. There's like maybe one or two schools here where like, you know, at places like King's College and stuff, they produce some of the you know players that go on to play in the All Blacks and stuff. So you know their inter-school rivalries are big deals that everyone will go along and watch. But I mean, you know, you guys have like big, huge stadiums that you like fill up for like high school and college ball, which just blows my mind. But you just sort of see that school and team spirit that I don't think really exists as much in other cultures.
my school district has 4 stadiums, and mine is only
What?
four football stadiums.
Look
have
at like
one.
Friday Night Lights, which is a movie we didn't, but it's about football exclusively and is a true story and uses the real stadiums
Yeah.
It's in Odessa.
that school used. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in Odessa. But yeah, my school district, which is not even the only school district in my city, has 4 stadiums.
It's just kind of mind-blowing for me. Like when the very first time I went to the States and my husband and I were in LA, we were pretty much across from University of Southern California, and we happened to be there on the weekend that they had a big football game, and it was just mind-blowing for us to see. We were all like, oh my God, is this like a big, huge game? And they're like, oh yeah, this university's taking on that university, and I'm like, that's It's at school. Like, you were getting bigger numbers of people going to school game than we would have going to an All Blacks game, which is like our national team, and we bleed black for rugby here. It's insane.
College stadiums are bigger than pro stadiums. They have about 80,000 to 100,000 people, and pro stadiums have 40 to 50. College stadiums are way bigger. What's the thing in Nebraska when the Cornhusker Stadium is the third biggest city in Nebraska? There's 80,000 people.
It's more than we had at the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah.
We had like 60-odd thousand people at the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, these stadiums have 45,000 people for the Soccer World Cup. They have 45,000 capacity, and that's like tiny for a Division I school.
Wow, that's nuts. Meta, sweetie, did you have a point, or are you just dancing and entertaining us?
Well, both.
Yeah.
But I will say that I think that in our schools, for example, even though we don't have a stadium, we don't have like a team of sorts, we still have like not tremendous is a big word to use, I know, but we have school spirit, if you can say it like that. Like, we identify with our school, and we are proud of the school that we're from because we want to beat the other schools in the neighborhood. Like, everybody, if you meet somebody at a party, and for example, in my school, I would say, well, I'm from Borgå, and they would be like, I'm from Hello, and I'd be like, well, fuck you, whatever, and we'll be arguing if you're from a different school. I mean, that's just how it is. And I think that you don't actually need a football team, and you don't need a stadium, and you don't need all of that to create school spirit, because you're all together about this one thing, about being from one school, and you're all united in that sort of way. But I will say that we do, in the region there where I'm from, where my high school is, we have this thing called the Olympic Beer Game. It's a really big thing. It brings like 5 high schools together, and it's a huge thing. It's like a big prestige thing to be accepted into this thing. And my school has won it like all years, basically. So I'm so proud of that. And that is like insane. At that game, you don't keep to your side, like with your school, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So like you don't need like the high school teams and everything. You just being in a school sometimes, if you love it there, you love the people there, that's enough.
Yeah. We had a similar thing like that in our school for rugby. That's a violent enough sport.
Oh yeah.
And that was definitely a way to bring out the school rivalry in a physical way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which was interesting. But yeah, it does seem like it's a much bigger thing in America though. Like it
is probably.
Yeah. Well, just the mere fact that, like, you know, college football is this huge thing that's like on TV and people are betting on it, and you know the people that are playing are basically treated like professional football players, but yet they're students at school that are supposed to be studying to get an education. So you're all just like, that concept in itself confuses the shit out of me. It really does. It just like, but they're students. I don't understand that.
That's a huge thing in America right now that nobody understands. It's a huge argument in the U.S. right now about athletes being athlete citizens. It's a huge deal.
Well,
because if you play sports in college, you're not allowed to have a job. So they have no income and they want to get paid.
And normally, like, if you're a decent player, you get a partial or full ride scholarship.
Yeah. I think most of the ones that have. Yeah.
And in America, college is $40,000 a year, so it's a huge deal to have free university.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, oh God, we could talk forever about the American schooling system, because there are so many things I don't understand about it that just make no sense. But as we are getting close to the end of the Hangout, I thought it would be a good point to talk about the fact that most of these high school movies seem to have, at the very end of the school year, the huge giant party that everybody in the whole school seems to be going to. And there's a lot of movies that kind of make sort of this big end of the year party be this big huge deal, or the whole entirety of the movie is about this one party, and just high school parties in general. Where do we stand on those?
Well, in Denmark, you can drink from when you're 16, so they're pretty fun.
Yeah. Same in New Zealand. We've got
dancing on tables, being skanky, drinking, making out with random guys. It's good.
That's a sort of universal thing. That because it doesn't deter Americans that it's not legal.
I have never made out with a guy at a party. I'm going to come out there and say that right now.
Boring Ray.
I've made out with girls.
But okay, but the thing.
Oh, sorry. It's just that I want to say, like in Denmark, for example, like we have random parties throughout the year. Like in my school, there's like 6 parties throughout the year, which are huge school parties. And you have one, which is basically our prom, and obviously like the senior classes, the ones that are going to graduate, they're like the main focus of those parties. But every single party is huge. That one party is just where you come there a bit earlier, and then you eat, and you're really, really fancy dressed. But other than that, it doesn't really differ that much from any of the other parties we have. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Oh, by the way, the guy from Italy that you don't like.
Ray, we don't want to talk about football. Jeez.
I think, but the thing that about these like the high school parties and the ones that are like the focus of the movie, and what was the one that had Jennifer Love Hewitt in it, and she was like, thank you again.
We've reviewed it. Heartbeat.
Yeah, well, we have reviewed it for a movie club pick, but the fact that like this big party at the end of the year that's just held at a person's house is that they spend this whole entire year at school in their little segmented groups, and the fact that they're not all supposed to get along, yet somehow basically the whole entire school is invited to this one party. But it's like those same high school rules still apply of the whole, well, you're in your group and I'm in my group and we're not supposed to talk, and how dare you talk to me, I'm like the top of the social echelon and you're sort of somewhere down in the lower third. If that is the case though, I don't know that we ever had parties like that other than say like the school ball where the whole entire school body was invited and it was that big like the homecoming type dance, but just like those end of year parties that take place in a person's house, they're usually done in like
We Are the Marching Band ends up making out with Queen, that party movie.
Yeah, like those types of ones.
They haven't talked to each other in 12 years. They haven't talked to each other in 12 years and end up hooking up at the party. It makes no sense.
I know, and it just that to me, from a foreign perspective looking at it, and the fact of, we had some crazy end of year parties, one that sort of like ended in a giant huge riot and a fight when the locals on the island that we were partying on decided to crash the party, and we smashed up the house that we were at, and it was very bad, and I got my stuff stolen and smashed a person into a brick wall, but it was fine, whatever. But it was
definitely none of that happened in Cheeks Like No Lily.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, though, it was still essentially the bulk of our social group. Like, we didn't invite the people that, were the super, super popular people at school that we didn't really hang out with. It was just the people in our group. Yet somehow in these movies, and is it just a movie trope that they do to have all of that conflict happen in a movie, or does it actually happen over there in America in real life, that you have these big parties at the end of the year where just the whole graduating class will come together?
I never experienced that part.
Yeah, me either.
Well, also the
I
classes are
wasn't
too
invited
big
to
for there
parties,
to be
really.
like a home party, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
you guys are like 1,000 people in a graduating class. Like you wouldn't actually have those sort of parties. Like I know that
So mine was all
we had
things
one
like
with
graduating
Right.
our
To finish.
class where we are only like 30 people. So our one single class would have one, then the other class, and then in 1 year we would be like 10 classes starting. So we would
Yeah.
be that graduating year. We'd be 10 classes, we'd have each our own separate party. Maybe 2 classes would get theirs together and we'd do it that way. But never has like a full year had one giant party together unless we were graduating.
Yeah. The closest thing I can think of is homecoming and prom.
Yeah.
You guys in America though seem to have a lot of like really big deal dances. Like there's at least because my knowledge of the American high school situation comes entirely from movies and TVs.
I was gonna say
So
that actually.
I base everything on that. And my best friend in the States would constantly tell me like, no, Christine, it's not like that. But in saying that, she was a cheerleader and they did do the cheerleader head bob. She was like, ready? Okay. And she'd do that all the time just to make me laugh because I was like, yay, just like they do in the movies. But you know, I used to read Sweet Valley High books when I was little, and I couldn't understand how the school year went. And the fact that there was always like this big, huge school dance in the gymnasium that everyone was planning for. There was things like spring flings and homecomings, and I'm just like,
there's like
do people ever go to fucking class?
Yeah,
Like, all you're
there's
doing is
like
just
5
having all these
dances.
dances.
Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 dances a year in senior and junior prom.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we had
one. We would have the school ball.
we had 4 to 6.
But like huge prom type things where it'd be like fancy dress?
Like
No,
prom was ultra fancy.
Long dresses.
Most of the time. There were girls who didn't.
Mm.
But
our prom, if you didn't have a prom dress or tuxedo, you weren't allowed in.
But I mean, the other 3 to 5 dances were like, you know, you get dressed up, but it's not super fancy. Like you wore
So
like
it's
a
more
sun.
like clubbing. It's more like clubbing going out as opposed to red carpet event going out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we did at our school too.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's our school.
Like we just had the school ball at the end of the year, and then the rest of the time we just get drunk at people's houses. Or if you were me, get drunk at school. As well.
We did that every Friday. That was so good. Every Friday after school, we'd gather like in this little patch of grass. It was like not in school because we couldn't drink on school property when it wasn't a party. So we'd go like 500 meters away and we'd sit there and we'd drink.
Oh god, we were worse than that. We would do the let's siphon the alcohol into a Coke bottle, so we'd have like vodka and Coke in a bottle, and we'd just be sitting there actually on school property drinking.
Yeah,
So
no, they were
usually
really,
at 10 o'clock
really
in the
big
morning.
with that. No, they were really big with like alcohol in classes. But people would smoke weed outside more than nothing.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I forgot.
A couple
how
people got caught doing
Is
that.
it your prom dress, Nina?
Yes, this is my prom dress.
Aww.
Oh my god, it's so pretty. So, okay, that's definitely like a fancy type.
Yeah, I got this one for free too because I won it in a raffle.
Ooh.
Oh, fancy.
Free is good.
Yes, free is
Yes,
very
it's
good.
Well, I always found that like in our school
then-
with the proms, we had the proms in
Like,
like
this is-
November,
this is what
and
I would
the
wear to,
first
like,
year was really casual.
Ooh, one at a time, people. One at a time.
And third year was really big because our school is just 3 years. So we'd gradually make it more and more fancy for prom.
Yeah, that was kind of the same situation for high school with us there.
Yeah.
Nina, back to you.
This is like one of the other ones that I would have worn for like one of the other dances. It's just a like
Gotcha,
plain.
yeah, so
Mm.
okay, so not as fancy as prom and stuff. Liam, what about you? What was like a high school dance type, high school party situation like in comparison to high school movies?
Not as official. Let me just say that. It's not like, okay, this is a thing that has to happen at the end of the year sort of thing. It's like,
yeah,
it's just go drinking. That's just the thing, you know? But yeah, my prom, we did all dress up fancy for that. I dressed in all black. Black tie, black shirt, black blazer, everything. I got accused of like dressing like I was going to a funeral. It was a bad day.
I reckon you would have looked fly, y'all.
One of the tropes of the high school dance is that there's inevitably somebody spiking the punch.
Oh.
And that was 100% true at my school. There was always someone spiking the punch.
You just might as well just let everyone drink. Just be done with it.
Oh, they served alcohol as soon as I started. I was 16. They served alcohol there, and it was fun.
And I think because it makes you. I honestly feel like some cultures, especially European cultures, where people are allowed to start drinking at a younger age, kind of have less issues. Kind of with like massive binge drinking, or you get over it pretty quickly, and you actually have a better attitude to alcohol in the long run. Although we have found that since lowering the drinking age here in New Zealand from 20 to like 18, that we get a lot more younger. Because I mean, I was drinking well before I was 20. I think I started drinking when I was like 15 or 16 or something. No, it must have been 14 or 15. I started really young.
I was 14.
I was 15.
Yeah. I'm only a minor raging alcoholic some of the time.
I'm Scottish, so the same thing, pretty much.
Well, I didn't become an alcoholic until I moved to England. So
it's that Commonwealth gene. I think we're all just like borderline alcoholics.
Mm-hmm.
But I do just feel like in general, though, we have a slightly better attitude to alcohol than, say, America, because America seems a lot stricter on... You know, you guys have to wait so much longer to be legally allowed to drink. It's like, kind of
it makes no sense.
Down like water, so you can drink 12 or 15 of them easily.
Dude, your beer basically is water. It is American beer is shit.
American beer is shit.
You guys do have a larger standard pour for like your spirits and alcohols. Like I think we've only got like a 30 ml pour, and I think yours is like a 45 ml pour as like a standard shot. So we have to order more shots of booze here. Yeah, your guys' pour is bigger than ours.
One ounce is 36 milliliters. Actually, no, from my liquor store days, most do about 1.5 ounces.
Yeah, so you guys have got like a 45 ml as a standard pour over there, whereas we're like a 30 ml. So, it takes a wee bit more booze for us to get loaded over here.
Oh.
Okay. I just really want to read out this comment that we just got on YouTube from the lovely Sean, who we love, by the way. He designed all of our artwork. He's amazing. And he just said that all of us would have been the coolest kids in high school, and that's a movie he'd sure watch. Oh, we love you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean. I was.
I wasn't. I really wasn't.
Yeah. I was a floater. I literally just like crossed barriers and just did whatever the hell I wanted.
Lasted.
Yeah. I do miss high school. I quite enjoyed high school, actually. I wasn't one of those people that have like really bad memories of high school, but I don't necessarily have the greatest views of it either. It was just a time where I did things and drank a lot.
The last year was a waste year.
That's what I've always said. But like, what you do in high school? Like, fucking remember that was 12 years ago. It wasn't a big deal.
Well, I remember it because I met my best friend, and it was like a really good, fun 3 years because we get to spend every single day together in every single class. And you know, it's a time where you really bond friendships because I was there through her first boyfriend and the second boyfriend, and you know, her moving in with her boyfriend, all those sorts of things that really bind you together. I was there for that, and that really means a lot. And it's friendships like that you never really forget. And
Well,
like
my best friend is from high school prison now. So.
yeah. Well, my friend group, the one girl there, my best friend, like I still talk to her. The other ones I don't really talk to that often, but we're still really, really, really good friends because we did that. We spent every single day together. So that's what I took from my experience. I obviously would have loved to have had a lot more friends, but I'm the type of person where I would rather have a little group of friends that I know a lot better and I love so much instead of like 35 people that I know like a little bit about that I don't really get to see at any point, just only at parties.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just
having
gonna say
having that small group of friends. Right, I'm just going to quickly go on Meta's point. Having that small group of friends, I swear to God, makes Christmas so much easier. One year when I tried to do that, I'm going to do a Christmas card for everybody I know. I did something like 450 Christmas cards. I was like 16. I'm like, I'm never doing that again. Now I'm lucky if I do 40.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Having a smaller group of friends makes holidays so much easier.
I had a very small group of very close friends. I mean, I was friends with everyone. I got on well with everyone.
Yeah.
But, very small,
that's
very
me too.
close friends.
I was in that
situation. One Christmas, I decided to be really cheesy, and because we're so few of us, because we're so close, I walked round to everyone's house and gave them an individual gift on Christmas. Dressed as Santa.
Nice.
Every old person in my town
Don't forget me
stopped
at this Christmas. Yeah, don't forget me this Christmas, by the way. I expect a Christmas card. Okay, so since we are nearly out of time, just a couple of the things I just wanted to wrap up on. I think we definitely all showcased, I think the reason why high school movies across different genres do so well is because, as we've shown, we all have high school memories. We have memories whether they're good or they're bad. We can all relate in some way, shape or form, whether or not it actually reflects what our high schools looked like or were actually like. There's still always some aspect of that that we can relate to, whether or not it's just that kind of pining over the hot boy in high school that everybody else wanted, or the fact of just feeling like you don't fit in with all of the groups. Yeah, everyone's pining over you, Liam. You're like the hot boy in high school, and we all want you.
Liam is so handsome. Like, did you see him yesterday in that shirt? Oh my god.
Oh my god. So fine.
Like,
I didn't have. High school was the worst period of my time for like girls, and I was a chubby
thought
kid,
that would
no
have
beard.
brought back high school memories for you, Liam.
I feel you, Liam.
Liam the late bloomer. But I think since it is nearly time to wrap up, I think as we go through the line, and since the topic today has been called high school reunion, when you guys wrap up, at least say your favorite movie that features a high school reunion. Oh God, everyone's just like,
there's ones other than Romeo and Michelle.
There's a lot of other ones. There was the American Pie high school reunion movie.
That was my
There
pick.
was oh my God, you guys have ruined it for me. Fine, you've got to pick your number one overall best high school movie on the way out. So there we go. It doesn't have to feature a high school reunion, but it would be better if it did.
Well, my pick is not going to do that. But I'm going to say bye. My name is Meta. You can find me anywhere on the interwebs at MetaMedicine. I usually post a lot of selfies, and sometimes, although I haven't recently, I will post a little video, which will start really soon as I move back home. What else? I didn't talk about 50 Shades of Grey today, which is kind of amazing. And I kind of feel a bit sad now. I feel like I need to talk about this off air. I don't know why. It's a tradition that should not be broken, and it's just really bad.
I didn't bring up George Clooney either.
No, it's really bad. Like, we need to do these things, otherwise it's not a real hangout.
I should have played for you, which is a high school movie, I think. So you could talk about 50 Shades of Grey.
Favorite thing would probably be Mean Girls or Easy A would probably be the ones, but I would actually say that out of anything like where you talk TV and movies, I really like the in-betweeners for like a high school sort of experience. I'm sorry, Liam. I know you hate it. I know you hate it. But fuck me, it is so funny. It is so funny.
No. Nina.
Hi guys, I'm Nina. I go by Vlogged Life Nina on YouTube, where you can find all of my links and all of my videos. My favorite high school movie is Bring It On, and that surprises no one.
Ray.
Yeah, my name is Ray. You can find me on Twitter at Rin Smith, on YouTube at RayHS1984, and I'm probably going to pick Heathers as my favorite high school movie.
My name is Liam on these Hangouts, Sabotage everywhere else. I have an Instagram where I post far too many selfies.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I've done a movie review, so I'm coming back. Sorry, Scotland, for misrepresenting you. And my favourite high school movie was going to be Easy A. Damn it, Meta. Kiwi stole American Pie reunion. You stole Easy A. I love you, Beth Cooper. There we go. That one.
Ooh, good movie. And I've been Kiwi. I've been the host of the show today for a high school reunion here on Movie Club Strikes Back. If I was to pick my all-time favorite high school-y based movie, I think I'm still going to go classic and go with The Breakfast Club. There's something about it. It's timeless and I love, but you know, I got to put Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion up there as well. So don't forget to check out links down below in our Hangout here on YouTube, where we'll have all of our channels. You can also go to our group channel and check out all of the playlists that we've got of all of the movie reviews that we do once a week for all of our movie picks. But I am going to declare that the Movie Club Strikes Back graduating class of 2014, done and dusted.
And the next movie will be picked by me, and it'll probably be one of these
yes,
5 movies.
So Ray will be picking our next movie, which you will see on our group channel. But for now, that's been us, and thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye!
Bye.